Leaders of Tomorrow. You with us here as a part of our grand 10th edition celebration. 10 editions and 10 seasons of handholding and empowering you, the small business. We're excited for this journey that we're on, and we're excited to take you along. Today, we're talking all things entrepreneurship and what are the 10 things, the 10 trends that are going to impact entrepreneurship and the way it is being done now. We'll also be doing a deep dive into the budget, talking about what are some of the expectations from the budget. All of these questions being posed to our panel, some of India's most well-known entrepreneurs, not needing much of an introduction. Let me welcome them in. Vineeta Singh, CEO of Sugar Cosmetics. Varun Alagh, founder Mamaearth. Hena Mehta, co-founder and CEO of Basis. Let me kickstart today's conversation and interview with talking about some of the trends the three of you believe is really going to impact and change entrepreneurship the way we see it. And sitting where we are, how things have changed. It's a new normal of working. It's a new normal of really just living and doing things differently from what we used to previously. And one thing that the three of you have said that you firmly believe has changed entrepreneurship and will continue to have an impact is the role of technology and digitization. And there's no taking away from that. Maybe I could come to you first, Vineeta, and talk about smartphone adoption, particularly the weapon, if I can call it that. It is in the hands of small businesses which are using it to get discovered, which are using it to advertise themselves, build their businesses, build their brands, and how you feel these businesses should really harness that to be able to grow better.
Congratulations, firstly, Sunanda, on the 10th anniversary. And thank you for having me here. So I think, Varun would agree with this, that about 5 to 6 years back, it would have seemed impossible to think that young brands making products in India and very proudly Indian could emerge and, compete with the large FMCG players. But I think all of that has been made possible thanks to the insane smartphone adoption and internet penetration that's happened. I think the prediction is that in the next 4 to 5 years, almost 1 billion people will have internet access. For us, the big shift that has happened is that, 5, 6 years back, less than 10% of the e-commerce shoppers were women. Now it's about 43%. This really changes things because, for brands and companies to get discovered 5 to 10 years back, it would require a lot of marketing dollars, but we can bypass all that by just using social media platforms to get across. So for us, for instance, Instagram, which now has like more than 100 million users, is a platform that makes it much easier for sugar to get discovered. And then, of course, e-commerce, in India, which for beauty as a category is expected to become like 15-16% of market share in the next 4 to 5 years. That will make it easy for good quality products to get discovered rather than, only the ones that are screaming loudest on television to get discovered. So I think for India, the whole emergence of young brands and access to e-commerce has really changed the number of companies that have, and COVID has just seen an acceleration both of e-commerce adoption as well as digital payments.
Sure. Hena, the work that you do could perhaps not have been possible if we didn't have the kind of technology and if we didn't have the digital and the tech platform. What is your belief as far as the power of digital for small businesses and, from your own experience, how you've been able to really harness the benefits of that to talk to this consumer base, which perhaps has been created because the technology to address them has now been created?
Yeah, I think that it's never been a more exciting time to build a business in India, right? It's quite easy really to start something. You have an idea, technology, helps you build, and scale has never been more easy, right? So where we operate in the fintech space, and the prior era were bank branches and things like that, and now we literally create an app. It's in the hands of like thousands of people in a matter of seconds, and to to Vineeta's point, even marketing, etc., hasn't been easier. So obviously, it's gonna help us disrupt things much faster. We are building a woman-focused fintech platform called Basis, of course, and smartphone adoption, internet adoption by women too wasn't, I guess, historically, compared to men at least, that much, but we're seeing that change as well, right? So more women coming online, more women using the internet, their smartphones, etc., to just live more independently. And quite honestly, there hasn't been a more exciting time, especially to even build a business like we are, where we're essentially creating a new category of women-focused financial services.
Sure. Varun, if I can come to you and really talk about how brands like yours are really tapping this entire digital wave. Vineeta was talking about how the consumer base is now shifting. More and more people are buying online. Brands like yours have definitely benefited from that, on one hand. And secondly, I was reading a report that said that you're planning on investing nearly 90% of your total marketing spends towards digital media, because that's where you feel perhaps most of your consumers are coming in from. Just talk to us about this entire digital revolution and how end-to-end perhaps you are also changing maybe to address these changing needs.
Firstly, thank you so much for having me on the show, Sunanda, and congratulations on the 10 years. I think to start with, we started Mamaearth as a toxin-free personal care brand, and when we started, we never imagined that the reach of the brand would grow to such a large extent so quickly. And India has about 25,000 pin codes, and in the last quarter we would have serviced about 18,000 pin codes out of them through our own website. And that's the kind of scale our brand has been able to achieve purely on the base of digital. You're right when you say we are over invested in this phenomena because we truly believe in it. And I think I would say three things that have happened, which are really making it relevant for a small business to sort of go for digital mediums, digital technologies, and digital platforms. Right. Firstly, democratization. Vineeta touched upon that, and democratization from both sides. One is from the democratization of consumption of content, and the smartphone has just made content consumption so easy, and in your hands and to your liking. And that content democratization in terms of wherever you are in India, you might be watching the same thing that someone in Singapore is also watching. The second theme for me is localization. And again, targeting was very difficult, and small businesses which were running in a certain geography or running or targeting a certain very niche problem and could not really find that audience and have a medium through which they could reach out to them. And now small businesses with the power of Google ecosystem, Facebook ecosystem, and some of the other ecosystems which are available and can reach out to these sharper targets and convert them. And third, like Hena was also mentioning, the entire fintech and payments ecosystem and the way that has evolved, right? Of course, starting with COD, and which was in itself a revolution to sort of take care of India's cash habits, right, and increase trust in e-commerce. But now, buy now, pay later, and some of the other pieces which are further coming in and have made transacting online far easier.
So women consumers, women entrepreneurs, and it's great. But not to take away from that, I want to speak about a piece of data which is not so good, and that's as far as funding for women-owned and lending business is concerned. Harvard Business Review, as of 2020, end of 2020, shows that just about 2.3% of funding coming into the ecosystem is going into women-founded and led businesses. And this is globally. This is not just in India. How can that change? That's my question. I know it's a big picture question. We definitely can't look at solving that on this panel, but where should we start? And what should that change look like? It's open to the three of you, but perhaps let me come to you first, Varun.
I think the first place that we need to start is by talking about it. And that is what we are doing right now. And the more we talk about it, the more it becomes a part of everyday conversations. And the more it'll remain on top of mind that it needs to be addressed. And there are formal conversations which are being done as part of different forums. And there are formal efforts. For example, Ghazal, my wife and my co-founder, is a part of CXXO initiative by Kalari, which is trying to do this. Sequoia has an initiative called Sparks, which is trying to do this. Right? But I think there are so many more, probably hundreds of such initiatives which are required. And probably also at regulation level, and some bit of, short-term intervention is required, and which will help sort of, plug this, because this is a genuine concern. Right? We need more women founders. We need more, startups which are led by women, which are breaking all the barriers and ceilings, and we need to make it happen, right, by talking about it and doing stuff about it.
There is data that says that women-led companies end up employing more women, and clear examples like Sugar has about 70% women, Mamaearth, Hena are also majority women, because it's easier to find role models. It's easier to a lot of women work on problems that solve for women, and that's why women like to work in those organizations. So I think as McKinsey report says that if in the next 5 years we want to have like almost a $700 billion impact on GDP, then just changing 10% of labor participation of women is going to be able to make that difference. And the government talks about the 5 trillion economy, etc. I think this is probably one of the things that's going to be very important to move in that direction, and that's why we do need more women entrepreneurs. And the good news, like Varun said, is that there is a lot of conversation that started. So 10 years back, for a woman founder to raise money, the conversations that she had to have with venture capitalists were around proving that she couldn't be as good, because she had to justify things like how she would manage when she has her family, etc. Yeah. Now that has completely changed. It's absolutely politically incorrect for any venture capitalist to ask inappropriate questions. All of them are being sensitized through platforms like Spark and CXXO that Varun mentioned. So I think in terms of the conversation, there's a great starting point, and conversations always precede actual action. So we do hope that in the next decade or so, the numbers will also come in to reflect the change in intention.
Ladies, Varun, I have to take a quick commercial break. On that note, we're back in just a moment. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. And tonight, we are talking about the 10 trends which are going to change and have changed entrepreneurship as we know it. We're also counting down to the budget. One of the things that, Hena, that you want to definitely discuss about how things have changed as far as entrepreneurs are concerned is hyper-personalization. And I think some part of it is also thanks to the power of technology and digital. How do you think that's going to impact the life of a small business? One, two, if you could use a personal example very quickly and just talk to our viewers about how you've been able to do that and give a very personalized brand and product, to your consumers. What lessons would you want for our viewers to take away?
Within fintech, that's what the theme is now, right? Like very on the consumer front, that is very vertical focused businesses, right? Today we have neobanks for blue collar workers. We have neobanks for teenagers. We're building an entire financial services platform focused on women and technology, ML, just really being able to be hyper focused and hyper personalized on a particular segment is what's enabling us to do that and see trends globally. Where it's no longer a one size fits all, what banking used to be in the past, but it's really just products, recommendations, financial advice, whatever, within the personal finance space itself, which is where we operate. We've seen that personalization happen and more focus on segments so that these products and services aren't limited just to, the folks that they were originally built for. And there is customization and personalization that is really driving targeted products for various parts of the ecosystem.
Varun, the power of Make in India, Made for India being borne out by brands like Mamaearth, and congratulations on becoming a unicorn. And my question really is as someone who's also manufacturing here in the country, I'm sure you've had your fair share of challenges, particularly in the initial years. What would you like to tell our viewers based on your own experiences? What perhaps would you like to see happening differently, especially in the part of the government when we're talking about manufacturing? Because the PLI scheme, hand-holding, etc., you're largely seeing it for manufacturing companies, the traditional manufacturing companies, say auto components, etc. How about businesses like yours then?
I would say there are three things that I would like to see more of. And one is, like you said, the PLI scheme, right? I think the coverage of that scheme is very, very limited right now. And in fact, the coverage during the times of excises where states had ability to impact, some of these regulations, because state had that excise angle to that, right? And they could actually create excise-free zones where a lot of different kind of manufacturing could come in and increase and that finally gets passed on, right? Wherever, if a manufacturer is getting benefit, they finally give it to someone who's buying from them. They're able to better pay salaries, right, etc. Right? That benefit does get passed, right? I think PLI is very limited in its coverage, right? And the coverage needs to be extended, right? And I also think Make in India, and the program was a great start, right? But it was more of a explosion than a bonfire, right? And it happened for 3-4 months, right? And then it has been, a lull for the last, couple of years, right? That's not how a brand will get built, right? And continue promoting that for probably a decade. That's how a brand will get built, right? In fact, one of the things which surprised me, right, was the fact that our Make in India logo, right? So for example, we manufacture almost 97% of all our products in India. Even companies like us can't use the Make in India logo on our products. And there is a large bureaucratic, system to get approval on using that trademark onto your products. Why, right? It is supposed to be used for making in India products and companies, right? Give it out openly so that people use it with pride, right? And it becomes a symbol of something that you can see and say, okay, I want that, right? I want something which has lion on it, right? Because that is Make in India. In fact, add another incentive to it, right? Companies which are based in India and pay tax in India, right, should have a premiumization of that logo, a different color golden logo, which is given to them, right? Because the money that you pay for that, right, actually comes back in development of the country, right? Yes. So I think those are the few things that I would like to see happen.
I very quickly want to talk about the role of the government, just before I come to that, as far as entrepreneurs in India are concerned. Vineeta, you were saying something very interesting to me, that in the first few years, you made some portion of your products in Germany in the first 2 years, also because, and this really brings in the conversation of made in India brands, ensuring that people are buying Make in India brands, and all three of you are really representatives of the power of that. What, as an entrepreneur, do you hope to see changing to encourage more businesses on one hand to make in India, but also to make for India? What would you like to see, whether it's in the part of the government, whether it's just education for consumers, and to really use that to talk to any entrepreneurs who perhaps have products that they're making here in India as lessons that you would want for them to take away? Open to all three of you. Vineeta, to you first.
I think a couple of things have happened on their own that have made it like very, that have built in the incentive. One is that the consumer, like 5-6 years back, it was very hard for an Indian consumer to get excited about a product that's made in India and be proud of it. In the last couple of years, we've seen it completely change. Like, like consumers are owning and purchasing made in India products with pride. And I never thought I'd have been able to live to see this day based on the upbringing I had about, aspiration around American and European products. Yes. The other thing, of course, is that, international freights and availability, etc., is like just going through the roof in terms of, if you are a young brand that's depending on manufacturing outside of India, for you to be able to like predict your supply chain and keep your costs under control now, post-COVID, has become exceptionally hard. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs like us are actually shifting more and more of our supply anyways to be coming out of India. I think what the government definitely should continue doing is that, like there was this whole focus around services is, I think, next couple of years, there should be a focus around manufacturing. So incentives put in place from both like a capex as well as, some kind of tax rebates for manufacturing stuff in India. I think consumption, although like young brands have seen growth in the last couple of years, overall consumption is slowing down. And, the impact of the last 2 years of people having reduced income, we'll see in the next 12 months. So if the government doesn't do some cess cuts or some benefits to like really drive general consumption, I think we will all probably see some slowdown happen in the next 12 odd months or so. Yeah, I think that would be it. And of course, exports, I think if there are more incentives for exports, then, I think like for brands like Sugar and Mamaearth, there's a big opportunity to start building a massive export business if we can have enough support from the government on the same.
Let me take closing comments then from all of you in terms of your outlook for 2022. I know things are changing. Just when we thought perhaps there's not going to be a third wave, we definitely are in the middle of one. But all of that being said, what's your outlook personally and professionally for 2022? Hena, maybe I can come to you first.
Sure. Very, very bullish, of course. I think for 2022, we'll get to see more women-led IPOs, more women-led unicorns. It's already been a very interesting year. Just, it's been 10 days now. And so, yes, just very bullish for women building stuff, India's economy being driven by women-led businesses, women consumers. And that would be just my set of closing thoughts.
Vineeta?
Yeah, I think it's a bit late to say third wave shouldn't happen, but I think we'll all figure out a way to live with this, endemic for the next 12 months. And I do hope that the economy, is going to bounce back. So, we are going to double as a company as well over the next 12 months. That's and I think in general, we, like Hena mentioned, we do expect overall, like the funding market and the number of unicorns and IPOs, women-led or otherwise, to continue to grow over the next 12 months.
Varun, I'll give you the last word.
We're also very positive and bullish about 2022. We have maintained a very strong growth path in the last couple of years. The company is almost 8 times in the last 2 years itself, and those were the years of pandemic. And so I don't think that one is stopping us. And but yes, I think we are also very hopeful that the budget would come up with initiatives which boost the GDP far more, right? And gives more money in the hands of people, right? So that there is more discretionary spending, and all of the companies benefit out of that.
All right. Thank you so much to the three of you for joining this panel. That's all we have the time for. Thanks so much for watching.